let's talk about Supergirl. And there's a reason I want to show you this clip from Matt Baloney's podcast, The Town. Here's why. We've been talking about Supergirl like it doesn't look good, looks too much like Guardians. I think it's going to bomb. And then what happens when we say this? People come after us. They come after you. They come after, oh, the chuds are going to hate this. They're going to hate this. Why don't we see some industry people in the industry who cover like for these are the trades, right? The Town represents the trades. They're saying the same thing we're saying. You can't deny it. Here's from The Town with Matt Baloney, his podcast it's now on YouTube, and check out what they say about Supergirl. Sounds familiar.
Is on this stage. And I don't think either in terms of the presentation itself, which featured Jason Momoa and Millie Alcock wearing a Chanel Supergirl sweater that I think we're going to ask to be returned after her. She just wasn't prepped. Much like David Corn Sweat was not prepped last year. But
I don't understand this. They had negative feedback to that part of the presentation last year. And this year they just ran it back. They did the exact same thing.
And somehow it went even longer. The presenters were less ready, even though the questions were the most softball questions. It was, what was a specific scene that you enjoyed? Millie Alcock did not have an answer. There was no one feeding her one specific moment. This is press training 101. I do not know how it happened.
And Peter Safran is actually good and fun in these situations at co-head of DC. At one point, he asked her what it was like working with the dog. Punch me in the face.
And she also was like, there was no dog.
Yeah. She's like, don't believe what
That was
you
the first
see
question,
on the
by the way.
screen.
Do not admit there's not a dog.
I know. Like, oh, the dog? I'm supposed to pretend that I acted opposite a dog? That's CGI.
And then I have to be honest, the footage that they showed was never ending and dire, in my opinion. I thought that looked
She just had no
quite
charisma.
bad.
She had no charisma, was not prepped.
No.
Why does he hate women?
It was just embarrassing. Like, if you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
And
They sound
I
so
felt that
sexist
way
right now.
over and over again, where they did the same thing as
Well, I
last
expect
year.
that for white people.
They bring people out to have a conversation where the questions are written by 10 publicists. They're approved by 4 publicists for each talent.
But yet no one's given answers?
And it's just a whole lot of nothing.
The thing is that there are some people who are really good at this kind of thing. We saw a few examples of it this week. We saw Jack Black. You just put Jack Black on stage. He's been performing on stage for 35 years. He's incredibly comfortable in environments like that. He knows how to hit his laugh lines. He knows how to be exciting. The Rock vamped during the Moana presentation for 10 minutes because he's extremely gifted at that kind of thing.
I guess so. It was fairly aimless and about being a girl dad and empowering women, which I tuned out at some point.
Honestly, if you put 95% of...
Here's what I'm saying. How come we get attacked online for saying exactly what they're saying?
You know why? Because when we say it, we're just grifters. Yeah.
Because we're diverse and these 3 people are white.
Racist.
This has been going on for a while now, though. We start getting prestige articles where they explain that, like, the message is kind of ruining. It's like, yes, we've been saying that for quite some time, but it's kind of like a lot when Trump does something right. And then if he does something right, they can't give him any credit and they hate him just because he did it. If we say something correct, they hate us so much they can't acknowledge it's true until one of them says it.
I think that we were saying all of these things in a time where you had to be politically correct. You had to push the message. You had to do things like this, or for fear of getting canceled. So all these people like stepped in line with that, and we didn't. We refused to. We acknowledged the reality that we were seeing, where they weren't acknowledging reality. And now it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's over. So we can actually say what we really think and what is really going on.
Well, this is my point is we have been saying these critiques for a while about what the film looks like, and that others in the industry now feel comfortable, because I think behind closed doors, the kind of conversations they have are very realistic in terms of that looks like crap. That looks terrible. And the footage we saw, the Supergirl, it is an interminable 5-minute scene with a diverse group of Ravager women, by the way, who board a space bus vessel to rob people, and Supergirl is depowered because she's not near a yellow sun. So that plays out over the longest time, and it was so dark. Like, turn on, do they not have lights on starships? It was, Alan and I were looking at each other like, what? This is, and they hyped it as like, we got to show you this action scene from Supergirl. And then the diversity was so dumb. They had like an Asian girl, a black girl, a white girl, but they were colored like orange, blue, and green, like painted, like their faces. So they were diverse.
I do detect a bit of a sea change in the sense that they are calling them out now. First, the Hollywood Reporter saying that DC lost. Like, I'm shocked they said that. And then Superman Day came out. They did fuck all, except try to make it about Supergirl. And the press talked about that. Like, some sites I would normally say would be shill adjacent are calling them out. Like, I don't know. I think even they realized that this was just a fancy lie to make Warner Brothers seem profitable, and now Gunn is just writing out the rest of his time.
This has been going on a long time. You know, if they put out a slavery movie, well, you better like it or you're racist, or some kind of misogyny movie. You better like it because or you're misogynist. And I think it's finally caught up to where now the movie has to be good, you know. And
right, but the thing I don't understand is, okay, whether the movie's good or not, that's neither here nor there. But when you have like an event like CinemaCon, and you have Millie Alcock or whatever the fuck her name is there,
Alcock, all of
you know,
Alcock.
everyone who says her name,
we have Millie
pauses and
Alcock
has
there.
to say it again.
Why didn't you prep her for this?
That's
Why
exactly
didn't
right.
she has to answer questions, man? Like, she has to sell this movie, and there was no prep.
You want me to go over the questions?
prep?
I have it in my notes. So the first question was, they brought it up. It was, what was it like working with a dog on the set? And they had to admit there was no dog. It was movie magic. Then they asked Millie, what do you remember? And her response was everything. Then she says, this will be the first Supergirl that a lot of young girls will get to meet.
Wait, what?
Okay, then they hold on.
Then they go to Kamala Harris.
Hold on, it gets better. Then they go to the director, and well, what was it like working with Millie as Supergirl? Well, Millie was great. She learned 5 alien languages, and she needed to learn action sequences. And Jason Momoa steps in. Well, I only got 15 days of shooting, and I had a badass motorcycle. And then he finally says, what will audiences talk about after seeing Supergirl? And she says, well, it will be inspiring to so many kids to see a complex female hero. And then they talk about how this is designed to be theatrical. I mean, that is what we got. And you could tell that they were not confident in the words they were saying, and they were fumbling around, and they were probably also looking for words to say. These people were not prepped at all. Only Jason Momoa had the good, had something to say at least.
I was going to say, like, was she just incredibly monotone? Like, there's no hype around it, because I was looking for all of these Supergirl interviews after the fact, and the only ones that I could find were the ones from like Entertainment Tonight. And Jason Momoa seems like really hyped because he actually likes the character of Lobo. He's read the comics, and so he was really itching to play this character, and it looks like he had a lot of fun. Millie Alcock looks like she would rather be anywhere else but CinemaCon.
You know what it is? Look, I've been doing improv for like well over 25 years. And I know it when I see it, but when people step on stage and they are low energy, that they just bring the room down. And that's what she is. She did not have any energy, any joy in the character. She was an actress doing her job. And maybe that's a personality trait. She's just not an outgoing person. But
Alan,
on a stage like that, hold on. When you step on a
like
stage like that to promote your movie, you need energy and excitement to rev everybody up in the room.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, because I think that like something like that would work with like Jenna Ortega, because she's playing Wednesday. So like that character, I mean, you expect like someone like her to be playing that character. Millie Alcock is playing Supergirl. And granted, I know that in this story, she's not like the Supergirl like that we all know and love. It's, within this story, she's playing a different someone who's really, really depressed and dealing with her planet being destroyed. But she's still Supergirl. Like she's still playing Supergirl. So you want to sell that you are Supergirl. And she just like what these interviews that I was watching from her, I was just like, yes, I'm really excited to see this movie being seen by young women. And I think that it needs to be seen by young women.
You're absolutely 100% right.
Yeah, I'm not understanding why
you mentioned Jenna Ortega.
I don't want to see this.
You mentioned Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega brings energy to low energy characters, and that's why even Wednesday is an exciting character to watch because that's the actress who portrays it. But you bring it right up. You cannot go on interviews. You cannot be promoting this movie without any kind of excitement for what you've done or any kind of pride for what you've done. Dude, otherwise, no one's going to believe it.
Even Ryan Reynolds had energy for Green Lantern, okay? Like, he knew that was a piece of shit. But even he brought energy to that. The thing is, like, these actors, man, like, they think that their job is just to read lines. But it's not, man. They are salesmen for their product, man. This is $100 million product that she has to sell to the public. And she didn't do it, man. And maybe it's her fault. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Either way, though, it falls on her because she's the lead of the movie. And
why would she need prep at all? These are the easiest fucking questions to answer if you actually were involved in the thing. Hold on, let me finish.
No, Badger. I'll explain it.
I don't need to explain. I want to keep going. If she filmed this and someone asked, what's your favorite scene? Where's the, flying for the first time, getting to be a part of this huge action sequences, getting to talk to David, even though I didn't interact with him on screen. Like, these should be very easy to say, unless it was just complete slop and she was against a blue screen most of the time, didn't understand what she was doing or saying, and just said the lines on paper.
Honestly, the interviewers had more enthusiasm than she did. The interviewers asking the questions were like so hyped about her playing this character and really giving her the answers, right? Because there was one question where they're like, you were in this film and you got to fly, you got to fight, you got to do all this stuff. What was one thing that you got really good at? And she's like, one thing that I got, I've never done stunt work before. But I think I got like really good at like trusting myself. I was like, what? Really? Yeah. She gave you answers. You could have just thrown something out.
And by the way, when I say prep, I'm not talking about like sitting there reading notes before you go on. I'm talking about like getting yourself prepared mentally, emotionally, physically. Because when you go out there, you have to be on, right? She wasn't on. And her movie will suffer for that.
It's why Disney fired all their publicity. Warner Brothers didn't. So there had to have been someone on staff who could have helped her with all this stuff.
Well, we'll say this. Warner Brothers was among the best presentations at CinemaCon, with the exception of the DCU stuff we saw. Yeah. We had a pre-tape message that was like 15 seconds from James Gunn, Nicholas Hoult, and David Cornsweet saying, we're excited to tell you about Man of Tomorrow. We'll see you next year. That was it. Yeah. That was literally it. And then they showed Clayface. They showed a teaser for it. It looked like a David Cronenberg body horror movie. It's like a guy who has an accident. His face is kind of like a nothing face play, and he's in some kind of romance with some girl. It felt almost a little Joker-esque.
Yeah, you know what it is?
I was about to ask you about Clayface.
You know, you have that kind of horrific imagery, you know, that body horror type stuff. But in the back of your mind, you know, well, this is a DC superhero movie. And that undermines any terror you get from watching those shots.
Look, I love weird shit, man. Like I love, like, especially when it comes to horror, and I'm into it. Clayface is a great villain. He's one of my favorite Batman villains. My problem is just that, again, man, the direction of the studio is killing me, man. I don't know why we're getting a Clayface before a Batman movie. Like,
oh, I do, because James told us. He said they needed DCU content, so he took Mike Flanagan's script that was supposed to be for an Elseworlds movie and put it into the DCU. But the problem is he's already done Matt Hagen, Clayface, and Creature Commandos. So now we know that's the same Clayface, and we're once again introducing a famous villain for a character that doesn't fucking exist. Sony just proved how bad this decision is. By doing all the Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But to your point about Creature Commandos, if nobody watched it, did it really happen?
More people watch that than Starfleet Academy, but also
still no one's gonna care what happened in Creature Commandos.
Well, if you want a breakdown of everything that happened at CinemaCon, We've got like 5-6 stories on the site. Go to filmthread.com, check out the news section.